Hello Eternum and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news, and this is the War Report. Dynamic change in the history of Eternum last night as the forces of Get Active become the new, undisputed, heavyweight champions of Eternum. KOTT News were ringside after the bout and got a few words from the champs. Congratulations on your victory into the fort and capturing it. In about 9 minutes, you're now the heavyweight champions of Eternum. How's it feel?
Yeah, it's a little underwhelming, to be honest. It's a little underwhelming due to the, kind of fact that people already want to go after us. We should probably expect maybe a bit of content like today, maybe 2 days.
Yeah, in a couple days, a lot of people should be online. They should be, or they'll be available to come out and maybe give you some push. So hopefully you will see the type of experience you really want.
Yeah, it should be interesting.
Hey man, just tell them we went in there, popped a cleanse, and got active.
I mean, if you don't know that at that point, like that's your own problem, Suki.
What's she talking about, brother?
It's the way of the West. We pop a cleanse, get active. If you don't know what's up, you get out of here.
Oh my goodness. Well, gang, now that you've, was there anybody out there who stood out in their performance, by the way? I should ask that.
Hey, say me, say me, say me, say me, say me, me, say me, say me.
There's this guy named Pepper. He got some clean slaps on people. This little 1-2, right there, look, hit Happy, right there. Look at those moves. Look at those moves. You gotta love it.
KOTT news crews were en route to get B-roll shots of Fort Everfall when we began to see the makings of some light skirmishes. Little did we know what was about to unfold. Unsatisfied by the short fight, the champs hit the fort for some light road work and ended up running into members of the Covenant who thought they were going to push influence. Multiple skirmishes around the fort took place throughout the night as members of the Covenant came to proselytize to the new heavyweight champs. The action was fast and furious, and everyone was talking about family for some reason, as factional combatants jockeyed for position in and around the keep. The fighting took place all night long along the roads outside the keep as Syndicate and Covenant forces collided in their struggle to secure the area from one another. KOTT News will bring you more on this simulated fantasy conflict as it resolves. Returning to our ongoing coverage of the Druidic Spriggan invasion forces popping up around Eternum, KOTT News spoke with a concerned citizen about the matter in Corinth. You guys been out there knocking them down?
No, not really. I'm actually not that excited about it. When I first came back after updating, I was very disappointed that it doesn't actually show on the map unless it's active, and it's not active very much.
Well, I tell you what, I'll keep an eye out tonight and see how often I see them popping up, Maybe we were lucky.
Perhaps, yeah. I'd really not like to have my town destroyed by a Spriggan. I like it here in Windsward, and this is where I spend most of my time.
Nearly outscooped all night long by the Spriggan Rapid Response Squad, who were perpetually on standby, it seemed, running from shrine to shrine, we did manage to catch one summoning attempt in progress and tried once more to broker a peace. Sir, JChalant, KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news. We sure would like for this to resolve peacefully. Is there any way that our two people can come to a resolution? No comment. Once again, I must ask, is there any way that this is at all related to Adiana Theron? Is she behind this? I know that she is an Angry Earth proponent. No comment, huh? Well, hold on, back to you in the studio, JC. Thanks, JC. KOTT News will bring you more on that story as it continues. Looking at last night's Season 1 progress, and KOTT was a little amused that there was only one leaf task available for our special bingo attempt at a reverse 7 last night, so gave it another spin and found something we could knock out to complete that particular challenge. Leave a comment below if you're looking forward to those upcoming changes. Turning to the weather for today, and it looks like Eternum is back on track, keeping corruption off our backs and keeping things sunny and bright all day long. But once more after sundown, when the humidity drops, look out for typhoon activity, dredging up corruption invasion forces across 30% of the island. 2 roster submissions for Simulated Fantasy Combat Resolution tonight, brought to you by LARPco. Remember, if it isn't LARPco, it's cardboard. Tonight, the Syndicate members of Commit assault the Marauders of Stam Out Z for control of the island's primary oil reserves of Weaver's Fin. Maneuvering in conjunction with their fellow Syndicate members, Commit forces move to finalize the prevention of the pipeline project that very nearly succeeded. But the Marauders of Stam Out Z stand resolute in their desire to train leg day, and the peat moss bog of the Fin is one of the best places to do that. Meanwhile, the Marauders of the 10%ers attack the Covenant converts of the Outcast for control of the bamboo forest preserves of Ebonscale Reach. The 10%ers fly a familiar banner as they approach the fort and set up their assault camp, but we'll see tonight if they're emotionally prepared for war. The Outcast have been struggling to maintain their armies, with their coffers being perpetually plundered by their legendary hero, but they've got at least enough for tonight. Be sure to tune in for complete coverage and reactions from the citizens tonight at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News. Hello, Eternum, and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news. And this is the War Report. No change in the dynamic of Eternum last night, as the forces of Outcast managed to maintain control of the bamboo forest preserves of Ebonscale, and the Marauders of Stam Out Z keep control of the peat moss bog of the primary oil fields of Weaver's Fin. KOTT News stopped by City Hall in Twillin and spoke with the victors after their victory. Hey, congratulations on your victory. I saw you had a 50-50 on Bravo for most of the fight. They only got really 2 real strong pushes, but you were able to hold them off. Would you care to take us through your fight?
Yes, I will. So, off the bat, we've seen that they were rushing B, so we all, strong side B. And then they hit us with a sneaky again, which we gotta get good at. We always get hit with a sneaky. And, just easy farms after that.
Now, I saw there was a little bit of a skirmish there at about the 7-minute mark, but you guys were able to keep your composure. Who was your shout caller tonight, if you don't mind me asking?
The legendary and the only Meow for dinner.
Do you have any plans to try to expand your regions?
Oh, yes. The Church of Meow and Meow for Bis and the Word of Meow will be preached in the Word Church this Wednesday. Please join us for our ceremony.
Moments later, KOTT News reported to Ebonscale to speak with Outcast about their outcome. Congratulations on your victory here in Ebonscale. Was it ever in doubt for you out there tonight?
I think it was slightly in doubt. As you know, John, Panda got married to brother Jeff a couple days ago, so we've been missing a player because he's off on his honeymoon. But he did tell us that the secret tech to winning against emotional damage was to have 4 to 5 muskets on the group 10 without a healer. So we tried that strategy, and it worked. I think it worked. So yeah, kudos to Panda once again. Even if he's not here with us, may he go in peace. We're still missing him. He's still helping us out,
Has he still been taking the plundering the coffers of Outcast in order to finance his honeymoon?
No, he is no longer an outcast. He's a vagrant. I think he decided to marry brother Jeff, who is in JW, one of our enemy companies, and then he stole the treasury. So far the story is he's been ousted by Outcast. He's an outcast from an outcast, if you will. Yeah, I talked to him, I asked him for strategies because he's literally the best in everything. You just talk to Panda and you just know, that you're in the presence of a mere god himself.
Returning to our ongoing coverage of the Druidic Spriggan invasion, KOTT News Crews gave one more attempt at peace last night. Pardon me, JChalant, KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news, advocate for peace. Speaking on behalf of the citizens of Eternum, is there any chance that we can have peace? Or will you once again try to distract me with how big of a fish you have caught? Yes, I'm certain that a fish that big is pretty impressive. That's a pretty big fish. I've caught some big fish in my day too. But that is one whopper of a story you're telling when I'm trying to find out if we can have peace between our people. It looks to me that you're not at all interested in peace. Is that what you're telling me? You and your fish. As you can see, the Druids seem unwilling to cooperate in a peaceful negotiation However, I will stay on the scene and try to discover if there can be any breakdown in communication. The Spriggan once again rising from underneath the ground. He's looking right at me. Not this time, big fella. What are those? A new development in the Spriggan. A talk pattern. He is now launching globules that apparently are poison on the ground. Do be mindful of the poison. Before there were far too many people for them to do that, but apparently now that's a thing. Keep an eye out for that. Now the long arms of the Spriggan. Oh, I am trying to do a report here, but this guy just doesn't seem to want to have it as the fire staff union shows him who's... Oh, no. Last night's investigation revealed that the Spriggan invasion forces prefer to come out at night, much like the Freaks. Check recruitment chat for citizens taking the lead on organizing the Spriggan Rapid Response Squads. Checking the Season 1 pass progression, and 2 cards in a row, the activities just weren't in my wheelhouse for the day. But it's another daily example of what can be done just covering the news. Turning to the weather, and while the sun is out, it appears the Spriggan will only appear in the deserts of Brimstone Sands. So if you're not dealing with that, be sure to check in for corruption invasions popping up across 30% of the island tonight. Another submission for Simulated Fantasy Combat Resolution tonight, brought to you by LARPco. Remember, if it isn't LARPco, it is cardboard. Tonight, the Marauders of Stam Out Z attack the Syndicate members of Hostadetos for control of the Northern Observation Post of Morningdale. Stam Out Z have heard the rumors of the recently long-range Doppler echo recordings north of the Death Wall, and they want to position themselves to be first to enter this potential new land. As always, the Syndicate have been for advancing the knowledge of the island for the well-being of the citizenry. They'll fight to hold this position to continue their investigative research for everyone. We'll have any late-breaking outcomes and reactions from the citizens tonight at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News. Hello, Eternum, and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news. And this is the War Report. No change in the dynamic of Eternum last night, as the Syndicate members of X Payouts hold 2 points to maintain the forward observation posts of Morningdale. After the war, participants were paid immediately for their contributions in order of arrival at City Hall. KOTT News spoke with one of the participants about their winning philosophy. I appreciate you stepping out of the queue, this very lengthy queue for payouts tonight, to give me a few moments of your time. Congratulations on your victory here in Morningdale.
Thank you, sir. Always appreciated.
Yeah, well, the pleasure is mine. I saw that you guys were yielded Charlie right away, and then 2-1-2 defense on Bravo and Alpha for most of the fight. Would you care to take us through any outstanding moments for you?
Yeah, John. I mean, I think I've been over our general strategy with you a few times.
Indeed.
It involves holding down the W key, and on that note, I did write a short poem. If you allow me to recite it for you.
Oh, please do. The floor is yours.
Oh, W key, your service we admire. In New World, you set our hearts on fire. A tap, a press, we're on our quest. In Eternum's trials, you're truly the best. Moving forward, our brave tune dashes through forest mountains and swampy marshes. A symbol of courage, strength, and might. W key, you illuminate the darkest night. Charge us forth to the face of the beast. In epic battles, not in the least. Without you, W, where would we be? Stuck in place, lost at sea. With every press, a new world's explored. An unending journey, never to be bored. Dear W key, in games you're adored. A symbol of adventure, forever forward. Thank you, John.
No, the pleasure was all mine. That was moving. I am almost brought to tears. Quickly to the weather so I can enjoy half the day's festivities, and it looks like the sun will be up, over, and down before you know it. Then look out for a busy night as northern cold fronts dredge up a 40% chance of corruption invasions popping up across the island. 2 roster submissions for Simulated Fantasy Combat Resolution tonight, brought to you by LARPco. Remember, if it isn't LARPco, it's cardboard. Tonight, the Covenant smugglers of Error.pxp assail the syndicate members of X-Payouts for control of the crocodile-infested peninsula of Cutlass Keys. Error forces return once more to push their way back into Great House prominence by dislodging the syndicate and attempting to resecure the southern pipeline. X-Payout forces taking the momentum of their victory in Morningdale last night back to the Keys to prepare their defense. As simple as their defense is, pressing W. Meanwhile, the Marauders of Stamout Z assault the syndicate members of Commit for control of the master fishing lobster town of Reekwater. Stamout Z, fighting on back-to-back-to-back nights, head into the bayou and attempt to secure the crawdad and lobster port town of Far Harbor. But Commit forces have been diligent in their care of the region and hamlet, even resecuring their experimental, redeployable temporary bridge without issue. Be sure to tune in for complete coverage and reactions from the citizens tonight at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News. Hello, Eternum, and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news. And this is the War Report. No change in the dynamic of Eternum last night, as the members of the Syndicate managed to maintain control of their respective regions. KOTT News were on the scene starting in Cutlass Keys, where we spoke with one of the participants.
I mean, we just kind of sat in the back line and farmed them the whole game. I don't really know what they were doing in the front. Seemed to be doing their job because we kind of just sat back and chilled.
Oh, I see. Just overwhelming dominance on defense again tonight, huh? Well, at least you're rested up. Do you have any ambitions to strive out beyond the Cutlass Keys and maybe take another region on the island?
I mean, that's something for our officers. They don't really keep us in the loop too much.
Oh, I hear you. Well, while you were out there fighting for their life, was there anybody who stood out in their performance around you?
The whole squad. I would like to give a shout out to Zarita for getting top assists, my squad for having 2 deaths overall.
Moments later in Reekwater, KOTT caught up with a Commit member to go over their experience. Congratulations on your victory here in Reekwater tonight, managing to hold on to 2 outer objectives for most of the fight. Would you care to take us through your final moments?
Yeah, Reekwater defense, we knew it was going to be kind of an interesting war going into it because we've attacked these guys twice in Weaver's Fen now, and we're unsuccessful both wars. We had a little bit of a step back coming into our second Weaver's Fen attack against these guys, so we expected them to work out a little bit. Did some working ourselves. Shout out to Whirlwhip and Raven, one of the guys went crazy with me on point there. So we really didn't know what to expect, and turns out we just held point down really well. We kind of played to our advantage with the emplacements that kind of occur naturally in Reekwater with those little half walls and carts and whatnot. So depending on attacking or defending, it kind of poses a little bit more of a difficulty with those little half structures. But yeah, we were able to hold it down, watch the rotations correctly. We did a really good job of communicating when we needed to rotate groups to C to hold C point down with the correct numbers at the right time. So the shout out to our shot callers and Black Spamage for making those incredible rotational calls. Yeah, we haven't been on the defense in a little bit against a company that we really weren't sure how it was going to go, so I think we held it down really well, and we're looking forward to going up against those guys again for round 3 in Weaver's Fen.
Yeah, I think you did pretty well as well. I happened to be watching through your stream. Would you care to give everybody a little shout out? Let them know where they can find you real fast.
All right, well, I appreciate it. You can find me on twitch.tv/Spitfire_9, and I do dual stream on Kick occasionally. We're trying to get started on the Kick dual streaming, so kick.com/Spitfire_9.
Right on. Before I let you go, let me ask you, is there any ambitions for you guys to spread out beyond the island?
Oh, absolutely. We ideally we would love to connect the swamps and Weaver's Fen just to have the notoriety of having all the swamps and doing the Shrek thing.
KOTT News would like to alert its subscribers and those who are about to be of a drop available on the tertiary market. Viewing restrictions may apply. Returning to our ongoing coverage of the Season 1 track, yet again, only one Leaf activity that I was unwilling to re-roll for, but we're close enough to the end to not bother. Last night's corruption invasion forces were able to breach the desert dunes of Brimstone, impacting services temporarily. Turning to the weather today, and once more the sun will rise and shine all afternoon long, keeping corruption and invasions at bay. But look out after sundown as the humidity drops and a scattering of corruption rise up across 20% of the island. 2 more submissions for Simulated Fantasy Combat Resolution tonight, brought to you by LARPco. Remember, if it isn't LARPco, it's cardboard. First up, the Covenant converts of Outcast challenge the champs of Credit Card and Spite for their heavyweight title and the right to rule over Everfall. Outcast forces have been well trained, if not abandoned, by their legendary hero. So now they must stand on their own against the island's reigning heavyweight champs. Credit Cards and Spite stand ready to begin their Neverfall run, but only if they manage to hold off the divine retribution of these crusading high holies. Then, the Covenant PVXers of Tropical House assail the Marauders of Gorilla Town for control of the always uncontrollable Restless Shore. Tropical House taking a trip out to the mist-covered beaches of the Restless Shore to test their newest lineup against this Marauder powerhouse. It has been over 2 weeks since anyone has dared to come east and climb the Mud Hill, and the Marauders of Gorilla Town are anxious to get dirty. Be sure to tune in for complete coverage and reactions from the citizens tonight at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News. Hello, Eternum, and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news. And this is the War Report. Dynamic change in the history of Eternum last night as the Covenant converts of Outcast become the new, undisputed heavyweight champions of Eternum. KOTT News caught up with the champs after their knockout early in the second round to get their reactions. Congratulations on your victory here in Everfall, knocking out the champs and becoming the new undisputed heavyweight champions of Eternum in the second round. How do you feel it went out there today?
I think it went pretty well. You know, it was a 10-minute war, but, you know, I feel like they could improve in some way, you know? But, like, yeah, it was a fun war, honestly, John.
Yep, I see you still got a lot of energy, a little light on your feet there, working on your road work later on today, I'm sure. Was there anybody who stood out in their performance for you tonight?
My group did really good in backstage. Yeah, my healer, Nicole, Ryoku, my bruiser, my BB, Trog, they did pretty good. They did pretty good. And yeah, overall, Morgtown, he popped off like crazy. I don't know what happened with him. I think he like popped off, bro.
Oh, right on. Well, you got into stage, so it sounds like you spilled into the fort and took over the ramparts pretty quickly, huh?
Yeah, we took it really fast. They couldn't defend it. I don't know what happened to them.
Well, now you have two regions on the island. Are you going to be able to hold on to both of them, or do you have any ambitions to expand to a third?
We'll look into that, but right now we're enjoying our win. But 10-minute war is not really a good war, you know what I mean? But yeah, we'll look.
New refugees to the island were all over Everfall to witness the outcome, so be on the lookout for up-and-coming new recruits. KOTT News submitted a request for interview at City Hall in Moon Harbor, but civic leaders were unavailable as they prepared the hamlet for server reset. Speaking of the server reset, KOTT News were only able to complete 2 lines of the Season 1 activity card last night, but we're very nearly there for anyone tracking pace of completion out there. Looking at the weather for today and the daily sunrise will bring another day free of strife from the corruption. But look out after sundown as the corruption invasion forces get feisty and strike out again to try to take land across 30% of the island. 3 lineup submissions for Simulated Fantasy Combat Resolution tonight, brought to you by LARPco. Remember, if it isn't LARPco, it's cardboard. Tonight, the Marauders of Gorilla Town assault the vault of JDB's kitchen and attempt to steal away the island's financial capital of Windsward. Gorilla Town forcing themselves into a doubleheader against the Syndicate's preeminent powerhouse, determined to plunder at least one of their financial holdings. JDB's kitchen will need to field 40 defenders if they wish to stand their ground around the Bank Vault of Corinth. But will they have enough for both of their defenses tonight? Meanwhile, the Syndicate members of Commit assail the Marauders of Stam Out Z for control of the island's primary oil reserves of Weaver's Fin. In their third attempt to completely secure the swamps connecting the eastern shores to the central corridor, Commit forces moved to knock Stammout Z off the island. Backed into their keep atop the hills overlooking the peat moss bog below, Stammout Z prepare themselves in order to hold this strategic thoroughfare to the island's eastern shore. Also, the Marauders of Gorilla Town attack the syndicate members of JDB's Kitchen for control of the arid desert region of Brimstone Sands. In their second frontal engagement of the night, Gorilla Town strike at the dunes in the desert, intent on catching JDB's Kitchen staff in a difficult decision. But JDB may not need to make that decision. They've shown their ability to field 2 full defenses in the past, but how they will field each team will be unknown until the starting horns. We'll have any late-breaking outcomes and reactions from the citizens tonight at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News. Hello, Eternum, and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news. And this is the War Report. Dynamic change in the history of Eternum last night as the forces of emotional damage, now with 30% more vowels, succeed in subterfuge and secure the desert dunes of Brimstone Sands. KOTT News were on the scene and spoke about their strategy for such a rapid victory. Congratulations on your victory. Over really fast. You only took about 3 minutes to get it done. It looks like they didn't show up at all. Would you care to take us through how you were able to distract them by making them think you might have been Gorilla Town?
You know, we wanted to strike fear in their hearts. And what better way to do it than the unstoppable Gorilla Town?
Did you get permission from Gorilla Town before doing that? Are they in cahoots with you on that?
We're all Gorilla Brothers, John. Everyone. It doesn't matter. Purple, yellow, we're all Gorilla Brothers.
Well, now that you're in charge of the hamlet, are you going to take care of the infrastructure around here?
Of course, John. We're going to go ahead and upgrade the town. Make sure everybody's here is able to craft. What's it called? We'll make sure that never happens again. Everyone is welcome. Like I said, we're all Gorilla Brothers in Brimstone.
Later in Corinth, KOTT News attempted to speak with JDB leadership about the impact of the misdirection, but Vault Security was taking a mandatory union break. Stammout Z were more willing to discuss their outcome in Weaver's Fen, stopping to speak with us briefly before going to review VODs. Congratulations on your victory here in Weaver's Fen, managing to hold them outside of the fort for about 15 minutes. They got inside, but you still managed to hold the line. Would you care to take us through any highlights out there?
No, we played B really well, but they caught us on response a few times. They had great pressure outside fort. They kind of got us scattered. We put in a lot of work watching VODs this week. We're cleaning it up. You know, we cleaned it up inside fort for 15 minutes, but there was some sketchy moments for this war. So we're to keep reviewing VODs and improve to the next one.
As you guys continue to practice, I'm sure you'll continue to improve. Is there anybody out there who really stood out tonight, though?
Oh, Brombus, you know. Brombus, that's IGVG on server. Big shout out.
Well, Commit keeps trying to force you out of the swamp. What are your intentions? Are you going to try and get them out of the Reek waters?
Yep, that's our intention. We're going round 2. We're going to be pushing Reek water next 2 days. Let's go.
That wasn't enough action last night for some people, as fresh bench and emotional damage met on the southern bridge in Brimstone and fought it out for regional influence. KOTT News will bring you more on their story as it develops. Returning to our ongoing coverage of the Season 1 track, and last night's progress resulted in a couple lines as we get ever closer to completing the first season goal. Turning to the weather, and if you didn't believe it could happen, let me tell you that the sun will rise and shine once more again today. But be on the lookout as soon as the sun goes down, as the corruption forces of the island lay siege to 30% of the regions. Another submission for Simulated Fantasy Combat Resolution tonight, brought to you by LARPco. Remember, if it isn't LARPco, it's cardboard. Tonight, the Covenant converts of Outcast attack the Marauders of Gorilla Town for Crown and Kingdom of the Western Monarch's Bluff. Outcast have proselytized the Covenant back from the brink and even claimed the heavyweight title. And now they've turned their attention to the Bluff to expand their beliefs yet again. Gorilla Town returned from their eastern offensive last night and prepare once again for another fight. Switching their mindset into defensive efforts, Gorilla Town hunker in for what could be a long night. We'll have any late-breaking outcomes and reactions from the citizens tonight at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News. Hello, Eternum, and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news. And this is the War Report. No change in the dynamic of Eternum last night as the forces of Gorilla Town hang on to hold out on the western Monarch's Bluff. KOTT news crews caught up with company leadership after payouts to discuss the tough fight. Congratulations on your victory here in Monarch's Bluff. They were in the fort with about 16 minutes to go and only really gave you one big serious push at about the 3.5-minute mark. Would you care to take us through any pivotal moments you thought you had out there?
Thank you, John. I really appreciate that, by the way, and I also want to say a shout out to John just because he's an amazing person. I absolutely love his content. At the same time, we did it pretty well outside of fort. We held them off for a while. We got some what's called serious, deaths on the sides, and then weren't able to return the point. So got shoved back into fort, and then we were able to hold fort off pretty well. I was able to see everything inside the fort pretty well to send my players to whichever side gates. So we did really well in the fort.
Well, I know you gave a shout out to your entire army. Was there anybody who was particularly good at following instructions tonight?
Not gonna lie. I absolutely saw some monsters in Hutchie's group. Hutchie and Kill Squad were freaking crazy. Dropping down on B gate for me like that, like some soldiers, that was awesome. So shout out to them 100%.
Well, do you have any ambitions for expanding beyond the region that you have now?
Negative. We were able to get these walls cleaned up a little bit. We're trying to expand a little bit more possibly, but we're not sure here. We're going to have to defend some of our territories for a little bit longer before we start making plans.
That wasn't the only action last night, as Eternum's own Rippity hosted a PvP event on the beaches north of Moon Bay and Restless Shore. Preliminary King of the Hill ladder qualifiers were held as refugees from all over the island turned out to test their mettle against the island's strongest. The fighting went on all night as participants jockeyed for position. Keep an eye out for Rippity advertising next week's event and recruitment chat. In open world news, KOTT were out in Brightwood taking shots for tonight's report when we ran into 2 new refugees. Be on the lookout for these 2 ambitious new arrivals to the island who are looking for combat. Returning to our ongoing coverage of the Season 1 track, last night's action was enough to get us within striking distance of the finish line. Stay tuned for the exciting conclusion coming soon. Last night's invasion forces were able to breach Castle Restless Shore and lay siege to Moon Bay. Regional infrastructure was severely impacted. Citizens wishing to help in reconstruction efforts during the afternoon are encouraged to register at the Moon Bay Mission Board before tonight's northern cold fronts descend from the mountains, bringing an additional 40% chance of corruption invasion again tonight. 2 more submissions for simulated fantasy combat resolution tonight, brought to you by LARPco. Remember, if it isn't LARPco, it's cardboard. Tonight, the Marauders of Emotional Damage attack the Syndicate members of JDB's Kitchen for control of the bear-infested deep forests of Brightwood. The forces of Emotional Damage are beginning to learn that some names you just can't go back to as they attempt to gather more vowels in the backwoods of Brightwood. JDB's Kitchen didn't bother to respond to the subterfuge in Brimstone, but surely their schedule isn't so full that they would walk away from their only fight on the island tonight. Meanwhile, the Marauders of Gorilla Town assail the Syndicate members of I'm Going to Bed for control of the crocodile-infested mangroves of Cutlass Keys. Gorilla Town believe their blockade preventing trade out of Cutlass Keys has weakened the Syndicate to the point that they can now squeeze them out and gain the entire southern peninsula. But the forces of I'm Going to Bed have more than one of the top 10 company names of all time. They also have a roster of 50 that can show up and hold things down. But will they show up? Or will they be in bed? Be sure to tune in for complete coverage and reactions from the citizens tonight at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News.